Princess Nira of the Zilari Empire sat alone in the highest tower of her palace, looking out at the endless skies that stretched over her home planet. Zilara was a world of floating cities and shining crystal spires, a place that seemed impossible to leave without leaving a part of yourself behind. Yet Nira had felt that emptiness in her heart for as long as she could remember. She was admired across the galaxy for her intelligence, grace, and her strategic mind. But there was one truth that shadowed her life. She was infertile. In her species, fertility was seen as the foundation of a leader's legacy. Without it, no matter how wise or brave, she was considered unsuitable for marriage. Nira had spent years watching hopeful suitors approach her, each one more confident than the last. Her parents, the Emperor and Empress of Zilara, insisted that she meet them and consider their offers. Yet every time a new alien noble stepped into the palace halls, their eyes would fall not on her accomplishments or her intellect, but on the whisper of what she could not give. The suitors left, one by one, leaving Nira with a growing sense of loneliness. She was strong, yet she had never felt the warmth of someone choosing her for herself rather than for her title. The palace itself was beautiful, but empty. Crystal chandeliers reflected the light of the twin suns, and gardens floated in midair with delicate flowers that glowed softly at night. Nira walked among the corridors, her long silver hair brushing against the polished floors. She thought about the upcoming diplomatic conference on the border planet of Ralos. It was a mission meant to strengthen alliances, yet Nira had little hope of finding acceptance there. No alien species would marry her, no matter how brilliant she was. On the distant planet of Ralos, a human soldier named Kion prepared for his mission. He was part of the Galactic Peace Corps, a group tasked with keeping order and assisting in diplomatic matters across planets. Kion had grown up on a small human colony where life was hard but community was strong. He had learned the value of courage, loyalty, and compassion. As he packed his gear for the journey to escort Princess Nira, he felt a mix of duty and curiosity. He had heard stories of the Zilari, a proud and powerful species, and he knew that escorting their princess was an important task. When Kian first met Nira at the landing platform of the Zilari capital, he noticed her presence immediately. She did not speak much, yet there was a quiet strength in her eyes. Many would have been intimidated by a princess who carried herself with such dignity, but Kian felt respect instead of fear. He greeted her politely and offered his assistance with her luggage. Nira nodded, her usual reserved expression softening slightly. She had grown used to people staring at her, judging her, or avoiding her. But Kian treated her with the simple respect of a human who understood duty and honor. The journey to Ralos was long. Their transport ship sailed through star fields and asteroid belts, moving faster than light. Nira and Kian spent hours together, though neither spoke much at first. Kian observed her quietly, noting how she reviewed reports, studied maps, and even designed strategies for hypothetical attacks. She was brilliant, and Kian admired her focus. Nira, in turn, noticed his steady calm, the way he approached every situation with logic and courage. She had never met a human before, yet she felt a sense of ease around him that she did not feel with other beings. Their first challenge came unexpectedly. A band of space pirates attempted to intercept their transport ship near the outer edge of Zilari territory. Alarms blared and lights flashed red. Kian immediately took control of the situation, issuing commands to the crew and preparing defenses. Nira, though frightened, did not panic. She reviewed the ship's tactical systems and suggested maneuvers that would avoid the pirate attack. Working together, Kian piloted the ship while Nira directed shields and countermeasures. The pirates tried to board the ship, but they were outmatched. Kian and Nira coordinated perfectly, each trusting the other's instincts. By the time the pirates retreated, the ship was unharmed, and both had learned a small but important truth. They made a formidable team. During the nights in the ship's observation deck, Kian and Nira began to speak more freely. Nira shared stories of Zilara, of its floating gardens and twin suns, and of the responsibilities she carried since childhood. She spoke not of her title, but of her hopes for her people, her dreams to create alliances and protect the galaxy from conflicts. Kian listened intently and shared stories of human colonies, of harsh deserts and frozen worlds, and of how humans learn to survive by helping one another. Nira was fascinated. She realized that Kian valued strength and courage not for status or bloodline, but for deeds and choices. As days turned into weeks, a bond began to form. Nira laughed quietly at Kian's stories of human mistakes and resilience, and Kian found himself inspired by her wisdom and patience. They shared meals, studied star charts, and even sparred lightly in the ship's training room. Nira discovered that Kian could be gentle yet strong, confident yet humble. Kian saw that Nira's intelligence was matched by her kindness, and that her loneliness had never dulled her spirit. Despite the growing connection, Nira remained aware of the prejudice that awaited her. When they finally arrived on Rallo, she could see the way other diplomats whispered and stared. Alien nobles looked at her with pity or disdain, expecting her to fail as a leader and to be rejected. Kian noticed it too, and he quietly placed a hand on her shoulder, a small gesture of support that reminded her she was not alone. At the diplomatic conference, Nira faced more than political negotiations. She faced centuries of tradition that valued fertility over wisdom, status over courage. Many of the attending nobles questioned her abilities and her right to lead. Yet Nira remained calm, presenting her plans and ideas with precision and intelligence. Kian stayed nearby, ready to assist or defend if needed. Together, they showed that strength came in many forms, not just through birth or biology. During a late-night discussion in the conference hall, Kian asked Nira why she stayed silent in the face of such prejudice. She replied with a quiet determination. She had learned that anger and bitterness achieved nothing. Only through wisdom, courage, and consistency could she change minds. Kian admired her more than ever. He had never met anyone who faced such rejection with dignity and purpose. In the days that followed, Nira and Kian worked together to resolve small disputes between the attending species. They negotiated trade routes, mediated arguments, and even prevented a minor conflict from escalating into violence. Nira's leadership shone, and Kian's guidance and human perspective complemented her strategies perfectly. Slowly, the other delegates began to notice her skill and character. Respect replaced pity in their eyes. Though some still held old prejudices, one evening, as they returned to their quarters, Nira admitted her fears to Kian. She confessed that she had never believed anyone would choose her for herself, rather than for her position. Kian listened, his expression steady. He told her that in his world, people were judged by their actions, not by arbitrary expectations. He said that true courage came from standing for what was right, not from fulfilling traditions. Nira felt a warmth in her heart, a sense of hope she had never experienced before. By the end of their first mission on Rallos, the bond between Nira and Kian had grown stronger. Though their journey was far from over, both realized that they had found in each other a rare trust and understanding. Nira had always been admired, but she had never been chosen. Kian had always served with duty, but he had never encountered someone whose courage and wisdom matched his own. Together, they had begun to challenge the boundaries of tradition and prejudice, forming a partnership that neither the Zalari, Empire, nor the galaxy could ignore. Princess Nira returned to her private chamber that night, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and hope. She looked out at the glowing cities of Rallos and wondered what the future held. For the first time, she believed that perhaps, just perhaps, there was someone who would see her for who she truly was, and not for what she could not give. Kian, on the other hand, wrote a small note in his log about the extraordinary princess he had met. Noting her courage and intelligence, he did not yet realize how much she had already changed his own perspective on duty, honor, and the meaning of true partnership. The stars outside seemed endless, but for the first time both Nira and Kian felt that they were not alone in the universe. They had found an ally, a friend, and perhaps something more. In a galaxy where prejudice had ruled for centuries, a human soldier and an infertile alien princess had begun a journey that could reshape not only their destinies, but the future of many worlds. The journey back from Ralos had started quietly, but the quiet was deceptive. Princess Nira and Kian were traveling aboard the sleek transport ship provided by the Galactic Peace Corps, navigating through asteroid fields that glimmered like scattered stars. The mission to the border planet had been a success, yet the experience had left both of them with more questions than answers. Nira had begun to realize that humans were not like her people. They valued determination, courage, and loyalty above all else. Kian had noticed the intelligence and patience in Nira, traits rare even among the most respected Zalari nobles. One morning, as the twin suns of a nearby star system bathed the ship in golden light, the alarm suddenly blared. A fleet of pirate vessels appeared on the ship's sensors, moving with careful precision. Kian immediately issued orders to prepare shields and defensive systems. While Nira quickly assessed the ship's tactical array, her mind worked like a machine, calculating trajectories and predicting enemy movements. Kian watched her closely, impressed by her clarity and focus under pressure. The pirates were not merely opportunists. They were organized and aggressive, hoping to capture the transport for ransom. Kian piloted the ship with calm precision, weaving through the narrow asteroid field. Nira's voice was steady as she directed energy shields to strengthen weak points and guide the crew in countermeasures. Their coordination was flawless, a silent understanding forming between them without a single wasted word. As one pirate vessel tried to ram their ship, Nira calculated the trajectory and shouted precise adjustments. Kian followed her instructions exactly, and together they avoided the attack. The pirates launched energy nets to immobilize the ship, but Nira quickly devised a countermeasure that trapped the nets in a magnetic field. By the end of the encounter, the pirates had no choice but to retreat, leaving the transport unharmed. The crew cheered, but Kian and Nira exchanged a quiet glance. In that moment, they had earned each other's trust and respect. After the attack, the two spent long hours in the observation deck. Nira leaned against the transparent wall, gazing at the streaking stars, and Kian joined her. "You were incredible back there," he said, his voice calm, yet filled with admiration. Nira shook her head. "I only did what was necessary. If I had failed, everyone would have suffered. That is the responsibility of a leader." Kian nodded. "Leadership is more than strategy. It is also about courage, and you have it in abundance." Nira felt warmth spread through her chest. Humans valued actions and heart, not just status. She had never been praised in this way before. Over the next few days, their conversations deepened. Nira shared stories of her life in Zilara, explaining the floating cities and shimmering gardens, the traditions of her people, and the weight of expectations she had carried since childhood. Kian listened with genuine interest, occasionally sharing stories from Earth colonies and human worlds. He spoke of harsh deserts where water was precious, frozen planets where survival depended on community, and bustling cities where humans worked together to overcome challenges. Nira was fascinated. She realized that humans, though physically weaker than Zalari, had a unique strength that came from determination and cooperation. During one quiet evening, Nira and Kian decided to spar in the ship's training room. It was not a fight, but a test of reflexes and coordination. Nira moved with grace and precision, using techniques she had learned for years as part of her royal training. Kian, agile and experienced in hand-to-hand combat, adapted quickly. They exchanged moves, laughing lightly when one made a mistake or stumbled. In those moments, the barriers of species and rank faded. They were simply two individuals, learning from each other and enjoying the challenge. Their growing friendship did not go unnoticed. Crew members whispered about the unusual bond forming between the human soldier and the alien princess. Some were skeptical, believing that the princess should remain distant from her escort. Others admired the trust developing between them. Nira, however, remained focused on her duties while secretly enjoying Kian's company. She felt a sense of freedom with him, a rare chance to be seen as herself rather than as an infertile princess. Kian also felt a deep respect for Nira. He had seen leaders before, but none had combined intelligence, courage, and humility in the way she did. One day, as they passed through a dense asteroid belt, the ship encountered turbulence. Minor collisions with space debris caused damage to the hull, and alarms sounded across the bridge. Kian immediately took control of the ship, while Nira assessed the damage. Her sharp mind quickly identified which systems could be restored and which required immediate attention. Working together, they repaired critical systems while maneuvering the ship through the hazardous field. The crew marveled at their coordination, noting how seamlessly they complemented each other's strengths. During a break after the repairs, Nira and Kian stood side by side looking at the stars. "I have never met someone like you," Nira said quietly. "In my world, many see only what is lacking. You see what is possible." Kian smiled. "I believe in people, not labels. Courage, intelligence, and honor are what truly matter."
Oh.
Nira felt a sense of hope she had never experienced. For the first time, she believed that someone could value her for who she was, not for what she could not give. Their journey also involved navigating political challenges. As they approached neutral planets, diplomats and officials attempted to test Nira's abilities. Some asked difficult questions. Others attempted to undermine her authority with subtle insults. Kian observed quietly, intervening only when necessary to maintain respect. Nira responded with calm intelligence, using reasoning and evidence to address every challenge. Each success strengthened her confidence and impressed those around her. During long nights, they shared stories about home. Nira spoke of her people's customs, their festivals, and the beauty of their world. Kian shared stories of human achievements, of explorers who crossed uncharted planets, and communities that survived impossible hardships. They laughed, debated, and discovered that despite differences in species, they shared similar values: loyalty, courage, and a desire to protect those they cared for. Their bond deepened, not only through shared experiences, but also through mutual understanding and admiration. One evening, as the transport ship glided through a calm region of space, Nira confessed a fear she had carried for years. "I've always believed that no one would ever accept me for myself," she said softly. "My people see infertility as a flaw, a reason to be excluded. I am used to rejection." Kian listened without interruption. "I do not judge you by what you cannot do," he replied. "I see your strength, your mind, and your heart. That is what matters." Nira felt a warmth in her chest, a sense of connection that she had never felt before. The journey continued for weeks. Nira and Kian faced minor skirmishes with smugglers, navigated dangerous star systems, and resolved diplomatic disputes on small planets. Each challenge allowed them to learn more about each other and build trust. Kian admired Nira's ability to remain calm under pressure, and Nira admired Kian's steady courage and humility. Together, they became more than a princess and her escort. They became partners, learning from each other and relying on each other's strengths. As they neared the edge of Zilari space, Nira realized that her perspective had begun to change. She no longer saw herself as defined by what she could not give, but by the actions she took and the decisions she made. Kian had shown her that value was measured by courage, honor, and wisdom, not by arbitrary expectations. For the first time, she felt that her destiny was not dictated solely by tradition, but by the choices she could make. Kian, too, reflected on the journey. He had been trained to serve and protect, yet he had never encountered someone who challenged him intellectually and morally in the way Nira did. She had forced him to think differently, to reconsider assumptions, and to value not only strength but also wisdom and empathy. He realized that humans could learn as much from others as they could teach, and Nira had already taught him lessons he would carry for a lifetime. Their final days on the transport ship were filled with both anticipation and reflection. They had survived dangers together, navigated political challenges, and formed a bond that was deeper than either had expected. Nira no longer feared rejection because she had found someone who valued her for who she truly was. Kian no longer saw his mission as mere duty. It had become a shared journey with someone who inspired him in ways he had never imagined. As the ship approached Zilari space, both Nira and Kian looked forward to the next steps, though neither knew exactly what they would face. The galaxy was full of challenges, both political and personal, but together they felt stronger. Nira had discovered the courage to trust, and Kian had discovered the wisdom to value more than titles and power. Their journey was just beginning, but the foundation of their partnership was already unshakable. The stars stretched endlessly outside, silent witnesses to a bond that had formed between a human soldier and an alien princess. In the vastness of space, where prejudice and tradition often ruled, two individuals had found trust, respect, and the beginnings of something extraordinary. The journey ahead would test them in ways they could not yet imagine, but they were ready. Princess Nira and Kian had returned to the Zilari Empire after the mission on Ralos. The twin suns of Zilara shone brightly over the floating crystal cities. Yet the beauty of her home offered little comfort. Nira could feel the weight of her people's expectations pressing down on her once again. The Council of Nobles had begun preparing proposals for her marriage, as if her experiences on Ralos had changed nothing. One by one, powerful alien nobles approached, each offering titles, wealth, and influence. Yet none offered understanding or respect. They did not see her courage or intelligence. They only saw the whisper of her infertility. Kian stood beside her as they returned to the Grand Palace. Unlike others, he did not flinch at the stares or the whispers of disapproval. He walked with confidence and quiet determination, a human soldier who understood honor. Nira felt a sense of strength knowing he was there. For the first time, she felt that someone truly believed in her abilities and her worth. The Council of Nobles convened in the Grand Hall, its crystal walls reflecting the light of the twin suns. Nobles from many worlds had arrived, eager to influence the princess's decision. Nira entered the hall with her head held high. She was dressed in a ceremonial gown of silver and violet, yet the weight of expectation pressed on her shoulders. She could feel the glances of judgment, the subtle sneers of those who believed she was unfit to marry. Kian followed quietly, observing the room and the expressions of the nobles. The first noble to speak was Lord Varel, a wealthy and influential figure from the neighboring planet of Dravos. He offered Nira a marriage that would bring immense political advantage to the empire. Yet he spoke with a tone that implied her value was in her fertility and her ability to produce heirs. Nira listened patiently, her face calm. She had faced rejection many times, but she refused to be intimidated. Kian noticed the tension in her posture, but also the unwavering determination in her eyes. After Lord Varel finished, other nobles presented their proposals. Each one highlighted her physical condition as a weakness, suggesting alternative plans to secure the empire's future. The words stung, yet Nira did not flinch. She had grown stronger during her journey with Kian. She understood that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. When the council paused, Kian stepped forward. His voice was calm yet firm as he addressed the assembly. Princess Nira has proven herself in ways that none of you can measure by titles or wealth. She has demonstrated courage, intelligence, and leadership that have saved lives and resolved conflicts across planets. Her worth is not defined by fertility or tradition, but by her actions and her character. The hall fell silent. Many nobles were shocked that a human soldier dared to speak in such a manner. Some murmured in disapproval, while others listened with growing curiosity. Kian continued, "If you value the empire, you should value the abilities and judgment of its leaders. Princess Nira has earned the respect of many species, not through birthright alone, but through her courage and wisdom." Nira felt a surge of pride and gratitude. Kian had defended her without hesitation, speaking truths that her people had long ignored. She realized that the bond they had formed during their journey had given her the courage to face this council. For the first time, she felt that she was not alone in confronting centuries of prejudice. Lord Varel rose to speak again, his voice sharp with anger. "This is not the way of the Zilari. Tradition has guided our empire for millennia. Fertility ensures the continuation of our lineage. You, soldier, may see this differently, but you do not understand our ways." Kian looked him in the eyes, unwavering. "I understand more than you think. I understand that leadership is about protecting your people and making wise decisions. Fertility does not measure wisdom, courage, or integrity. Princess Nira has shown all these qualities and more. The empire would benefit more from her abilities than from blind adherence to outdated customs." Some nobles began to whisper among themselves. A few nodded quietly, considering Kian's words. Nira realized that change was possible. Her people had long been trapped in tradition, but courage and truth could open new paths. She decided to speak. Her voice was calm but filled with authority. I have faced challenges beyond these walls. I have negotiated peace, resolved conflicts, and led with wisdom. I am not defined by what I cannot give. I am defined by what I choose to do. Those who value the future of this empire must recognize my abilities, not my limitations. The council murmured again, but the tone had shifted. Respect replaced some of the earlier disdain. Nira continued, I will not marry for duty or for tradition alone. I will choose a partner who respects me, who values courage, wisdom, and integrity. I will not compromise my principles for titles or wealth. My worth is not measured by what I cannot change, but by the strength of my actions. Kian remained at her side, silent but supportive. He had seen many leaders make empty speeches, but this was different. Nira's words carried truth, courage, and the quiet power of someone who had lived through hardship and emerged stronger. Lord. Varel scowled, but said nothing further. Other nobles exchanged glances, some uncertain how to respond. Nira's words had challenged centuries of tradition, yet they could not deny the evidence of her abilities. The council continued to discuss, but the balance had shifted. For the first time, Nira felt that she had a voice, and that her choices mattered. In the days that followed, Nira faced more subtle tests. Some nobles tried to undermine her by questioning her strategic decisions or her judgment in political matters. Kian observed quietly, offering advice when needed but allowing Nira to demonstrate her skills. She responded with intelligence and patience, turning every challenge into an opportunity to prove her worth. Slowly, respect grew among the council members. They began to see her not as a princess who could not marry, but as a leader who had earned her place through courage, wisdom, and action. One evening, Nira and Kian walked through the gardens of the palace. The floating flowers glowed softly, casting a serene light on the crystal paths. Nira spoke quietly. I have spent so long believing that no one would choose me for myself, that others would always see my limitations before my strengths. I have never felt truly accepted until now. Kian smiled. You have always been remarkable, princess. You just needed someone to see it. I am glad to be here, but it is your courage that has brought change. My role is small compared to what you have done. Nira looked at him, a sense of warmth filling her chest. For the first time, she considered the possibility of choice, of finding someone who valued her for her mind and her heart, rather than for what she could not give. Kian's presence was a reminder that it was possible to challenge tradition and still remain true to oneself. The council soon presented a new challenge. An alien noble from the planet Tharvos arrived, seeking to secure Nira's hand in marriage. Unlike others, he was cunning and politically skilled. He attempted to manipulate alliances and suggested compromises that would benefit him at Nira's expense. Many nobles whispered that she had no choice but to accept, yet Nira felt a determination rising within her. She would not be coerced into a marriage that ignored her worth and her principles. Kian advised her calmly. You have already proven yourself. Stand firm. Do not let fear or pressure dictate your decision. Nira nodded. She understood that courage was not only needed on the battlefield but also in the halls of power. She had learned that leadership required strength in all forms, physical, mental, and moral. In the final council meeting, Nira addressed the assembly. Her voice was steady, carrying authority and conviction. I will not marry for convenience, titles, or wealth. I will choose my partner as I would choose any ally, for wisdom, courage, and honor. Those who serve this empire best are those who act with integrity, and I will lead with the same principle. I will not be judged by what I cannot change, but by what I choose to do. The hall fell silent. Some nobles were shocked, others impressed. Kian felt a surge of pride. He had seen many moments of courage, but this was exceptional. Nira was not only defending herself, but also challenging an entire system of outdated values. She was shaping a new path for her people, As the council adjourned, whispers of admiration spread quietly. Not everyone accepted her words immediately, but seeds of change had been planted. Nira and Kion had shown that courage and integrity could challenge prejudice and tradition. The bond between them had grown stronger, rooted in shared respect and mutual admiration. That night, as the palace rested under the twin suns, Nira looked out over the city. She thought about the journey with Kion, the challenges they had faced, the courage it had taken to stand before the council. For the first time, she felt hope that her choices could shape not only her future, but also the future of the Zilari Empire. Kion, standing quietly beside her, understood the weight of her words and the significance of the moment. Together, they had begun a journey that could change the galaxy, proving that courage, intelligence, and heart mattered more than tradition or prejudice. The stars above reflected their determination, silent witnesses to a human soldier and an alien princess who had begun to rewrite the rules of leadership, love, and respect. The future was uncertain, but they faced it with confidence, knowing that together they could. After the council meeting, Princess Nira and Kion prepared for a mission that would take them far beyond Zilari space. The Galactic Alliance had called for representatives to resolve a growing conflict between two neighboring planets, Varel and Thoris. Both planets had long histories of disputes over resources and trade routes, and the Alliance feared that their tensions could escalate into open war. Nira volunteered to accompany Kion, determined to prove her abilities on a wider stage. The transport ship lifted from the palace landing pad, gliding over the sparkling crystal cities of Zilara. Nira stood beside Kion in the observation deck, watching as their planet receded into the distance. "Do you think they will take us seriously?" she asked, her silver eyes reflecting the light of distant stars. Kion shook his head slightly, a small smile on his face. "They will have to. They will see what you can do, and they will have no choice but to respect it. You lead with wisdom and courage, Princess. That is impossible to ignore." Their first stop was the neutral station orbiting Virel. The station was a bustling hub of traders, diplomats, and military personnel. Nira felt the familiar tension of entering a place where everyone was watching her, judging her not just as a princess, but as a representative of her empire. Kion noticed the slight tightening of her shoulders and quietly placed a hand on her back. "Focus on the work, not on what they think. They will see your strength soon enough." Inside the station, they met with officials from both Virel and Thoris. Initial talks were tense. Each side accused the other of violating trade agreements and undermining territorial boundaries. Nira observed quietly, listening to every word. She noticed the subtle emotions behind the words: fear, pride, and suspicion. Kion watched her closely, impressed by her ability to remain calm and analytical in the face of conflict. When the discussions reached a standstill, Nira stepped forward. "We are here not to take sides, but to find solutions that benefit both planets. Conflict will only bring suffering to your people. Let us focus on what is possible, rather than what divides you." Her voice was calm yet firm. The officials paused, sensing the authority and sincerity in her words. Kion felt a surge of pride. He had witnessed her courage in private challenges, but now she was demonstrating it on a stage where the fate of two worlds depended on her wisdom. For the next several days, Nira and Kion worked tirelessly. They analyzed trade data, mapped resource routes, and proposed compromises that would benefit both sides. Nira's intelligence and strategic thinking became evident to everyone present. She suggested solutions that balanced needs, minimized losses, and promoted cooperation. Kion assisted by mediating disputes, offering practical advice, and ensuring that communication remained respectful and effective. One afternoon, a minor skirmish broke out between patrol ships from Virel and Thoris. Kion immediately assessed the situation, preparing to intervene. Nira analyzed the tactical data and suggested a maneuver that would separate the ships without escalating the conflict. They worked together, issuing commands that were precise and effective. By the end of the incident, no lives were lost, and both sides recognized that the coordinated efforts had prevented disaster. Officials from both planets began to see Nira and Kion as competent, reliable, and fair. During their evenings on the station, Nira and Kion spent time in quiet reflection. They shared stories about their homes, their people, and their experiences. Nira spoke of the Zilari philosophy of balance and strategy, while Kian described human values of cooperation, resilience, and compassion. Each learned from the other, discovering that different worlds could share similar principles. Nira realized that Kian's humanity gave him a unique perspective that complemented her intelligence and experience. As their work progressed, Nira also noticed the respect she was gaining from officials and diplomats. They no longer whispered or judged her for her infertility. Instead, they valued her input, acknowledged her insights, and sought her guidance. Nira felt a quiet satisfaction. Her worth was no longer defined by tradition or biology, but by her abilities, courage, and dedication. Kian noticed her growing confidence and felt a deep respect for her leadership. One day, while inspecting a transport ship carrying supplies between the two planets, Nira and Kian discovered sabotage. Someone had tampered with the ship's navigation systems, which could have caused a disaster. Nira immediately analyzed the situation, identifying the faulty circuits and devising a repair plan. Kian assisted by securing the crew and managing safety protocols. Together, they ensured that the ship could continue its journey safely. The officials responsible for overseeing the transport were impressed by their quick thinking and effective coordination. During a moment of rest, Kian turned to Nira. "You are changing the way people see leadership," he said. "Your courage and intelligence are undeniable. They are beginning to understand that value is not measured by tradition or expectations." Nira smiled softly. "I have learned a lot from you as well, Kian. Your guidance and perspective have helped me see possibilities I could not see before. Together, we are stronger than we could be alone." The mission reached its climax when a sudden threat emerged from a third party. A rogue faction from a neighboring system attempted to exploit the tension between Varel and Thoris. Planning to attack the station and seize control of trade routes, Nira and Kian immediately coordinated the defense. Nira analyzed tactical data, predicting the faction's moves, while Kian led the station's security forces. They worked seamlessly, each anticipating the other's actions. The attack was intense. Drones swarmed the station, and small ships attempted to breach defenses. Nira remained calm, issuing commands that optimized shield placement and resource allocation. Kian moved through the station, ensuring that civilians and personnel were safe. Responding to threats with precision and courage, their teamwork was flawless. By the time the rogue faction was repelled, the station had suffered only minor damage, and no lives were lost. Officials from both Virel and Thoris praised their efforts. Recognizing their leadership and bravery, after the battle, Nira and Kian met with the leaders of both planets. Nira spoke with quiet authority. "Conflict benefits no one. Cooperation ensures safety and prosperity. Together, you have the power to create a future where your people thrive, not fight. Use wisdom and courage to guide your choices." Our words carried weight because they were backed by action. Kian added his perspective, emphasizing the importance of trust, honesty, and shared responsibility. The leaders listened, understanding that true leadership required more than power or position. During the final days of the mission, Nira and Kian helped establish agreements that would promote long-term peace and collaboration between Varel and Thoris. They proposed shared resources, joint patrols, and systems to mediate future disputes. The agreements were accepted, and both planets expressed gratitude for the guidance and courage shown by the princess and the human soldier. Nira realized that she had proven her worth not only to her own empire, but to the wider galaxy. Kian felt a sense of accomplishment, knowing that humans and Zilari could work together to create a better future. One evening, as they prepared to depart the station, Nira and Kian stood together on the observation deck, watching the planets below. "We have done something meaningful here," Nira said quietly. "I have shown that courage, intelligence, and integrity are what matter most, and you have helped me every step of the way." Kian nodded. "You have led with strength and wisdom. I have only helped you show what was already there. The galaxy is beginning to see your true worth, Princess." Nira smiled, feeling a sense of peace she had never experienced. She had faced prejudice, political pressure, and danger. Yet she had emerged stronger. Her partnership with Kian had not only helped her succeed, but had also shown that values like courage, loyalty, and intelligence could inspire others across worlds. As the transport ship lifted from the station, Nira looked out at the stars. She realized that leadership was not about meeting expectations or fulfilling traditions. It was about action, courage, and heart. With Kian by her side, she felt ready to face any challenge the galaxy could present. The mission had proven more than their capabilities. It had proven that trust, respect, and cooperation could cross species boundaries. Nira had earned recognition for her skills and judgment, and Kian had demonstrated that humanity's courage and integrity could make a real difference in the galaxy. Together, they had shown that true value is measured not by tradition or biology, but by deeds, choices, and character. As they traveled back towards Zalara, both reflected on what they had achieved. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and dangers, but they were prepared. They had faced threats, solved conflicts, and earned the respect of those who had doubted them. Nira had proven that an infertile princess could lead with strength and wisdom, and Kian had proven that humans could be allies, teachers, and partners in shaping the future. The stars stretched endlessly around them, silent witnesses to the courage, intelligence, and partnership that had formed between a human soldier and an alien princess. Nira's confidence had grown, and Kian's admiration had deepened. Together, they had begun to reshape expectations, challenge prejudice, and inspire respect across worlds. Princess Nira and Kian returned to Zalara after their mission with Virel and Thoris. The journey through dangerous space and political turmoil had strengthened. Their bond had proven Nira's capabilities to herself and others. Now, she faced the greatest challenge of all, choosing her own path. Free from the pressures of tradition and prejudice, the grand halls of the Zalari Palace were alive with whispers. Nobles and officials had followed reports of Nira's mission, and many were curious how she would respond to the persistent pressures of marriage and duty. Unlike before, however, their curiosity was now accompanied by respect. Nira's successes on multiple worlds had shown that intelligence, courage, and determination mattered more than biology or tradition. Kian walked beside her through the palace corridors. "You have changed more than just minds," he said quietly. "You have inspired respect. People will remember what you have done for generations." Nira smiled, though her mind was focused on the choices ahead. "I have proven my abilities," she said. "But now I must prove that I can choose my own path. I will not let the old ways dictate my life." Kian nodded. "And you will not be alone. I will support you, no matter what you decide." The council convened to discuss Nira's future. The nobles who had once whispered against her now listened with careful attention. Some were hesitant, still attached to old customs, but they could not deny her accomplishments. Nira stood at the center, her voice steady and clear. "I have faced challenges across the galaxy, solved conflicts, and proven my abilities as a leader. I will not marry out of obligation or tradition. I will choose a partner who values courage, wisdom, and integrity. My choice will reflect not only my own life, but the future of our empire." Murmurs filled the hall, but Kian remained silent, confident in her words. Nira continued, describing her vision for a Zelari empire that valued actions and character above old prejudices. "We are stronger when we act with courage, honor, and intelligence. We can shape a future where leaders are respected for their deeds, not judged by arbitrary expectations. I will lead with these principles, and I will choose a partner who shares them." The nobles exchanged glances. Slowly, some began to nod. Others remained uncertain, but the change was undeniable. The empire's perception of leadership and worth was shifting, and Nira was at the center of it. After the council meeting, Nira and Kian walked through the palace gardens. The glowing flowers floated in midair, casting soft light on the paths. "You have done more than anyone could have imagined," Kian said. "Not just for yourself, but for your people and the galaxy." Nira nodded. "It has not been easy. But I have learned that courage is not only for battlefields or missions. It is also for making choices, standing up for what is right, and being true to oneself. I cannot follow the path others expect. I must create my own. Kian placed a hand gently on her shoulder. And you will. I have seen your courage and intelligence. I have seen the respect you have earned. Now, it is your choice. Do not let tradition or expectation decide for you. Days later, Nira announced her decision to the Empire. She had chosen to marry Kian not because of duty or political advantage, but because he had proven himself as a partner who respected her, shared her values, and supported her in every challenge. The announcement shocked some, yet inspired many. It was a union of two worlds, a symbol of change, and a message that courage, wisdom, and integrity could reshape the galaxy. Preparations for the wedding were elaborate, blending Xylari tradition with human simplicity. The ceremony took place in the palace gardens under the light of the twin suns. Nobles from across the Empire attended, as did representatives from Varel Thoris and other planets who had witnessed Nira and Kian's efforts. The atmosphere was one of hope and celebration, a turning point for an empire that had long clung to outdated beliefs. During the ceremony, Nira spoke to the gathered crowd. I have lived through challenges that tested my courage, my mind, and my heart. I have learned that true value is not measured by tradition or biology, but by actions, choices, and integrity. Today, I choose a partner who has shown me respect, courage, and wisdom. Together, we will lead not just by title, but by example. Kian, standing beside her, added his own words. Princess Nira has taught me the meaning of leadership and the value of courage. She has inspired me and countless others to see beyond prejudice and expectation. I am honored to stand with her, not as a soldier under duty, but as a partner in life, in leadership, and in shaping the future. The ceremony concluded with applause and expressions of respect from the attendees. For many, it was more than a wedding. It was the beginning of a new era. The union of a human and a Xylari princess symbolized the possibility of change, cooperation, and understanding across worlds. Nira had not only chosen love, but also challenged centuries of prejudice, proving that courage and intelligence could reshape tradition. In the following weeks, Nira and Kian continued their work. They visited other planets, met with diplomats, and assisted in resolving conflicts, always demonstrating leadership that combined wisdom, courage, and integrity. Their partnership became an example for others, inspiring admiration and respect. Nira's infertility, once considered a weakness, was no longer relevant. Her worth was measured by her actions, her decisions, the respect she earned from allies across the galaxy. Back on Xylara, the Empire began to shift. Nobles and citizens alike recognized that leadership was not limited by old customs or expectations. Young Xylari began to look to Nira and Kian as role models, learning that courage, wisdom, and integrity mattered more than biology or social rank. Schools, councils, and communities slowly began to adopt new ways of thinking. Influenced by the example set by the princess and her human partner, one quiet evening, Nira and Kian walked together on a floating terrace overlooking the capital. The twin suns bathed the city in golden light, and the crystal towers sparkled like diamonds. We have changed more than I imagined possible, Nira said softly. Not just our own lives, but the lives of many. The Empire is beginning to see what truly matters. Kian smiled. You led the way. I only stood beside you. Your courage, intelligence, and heart inspired change. Together we have shown that even long-held traditions can be challenged when faced with truth and integrity. Nira took his hand, feeling a sense of peace and fulfillment. She had faced prejudice, danger, and political pressure, yet she had remained true to herself. She had chosen love, partnership, and a path guided by courage and wisdom. The Empire, and perhaps the galaxy, would never be the same. Their work was not finished. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and opportunities. Conflicts would arise, and leadership would be tested. Yet Nira and Kian faced the future with confidence. Together, they had proven that courage, wisdom, and integrity were stronger than tradition and prejudice. Their partnership became a symbol of hope, inspiration, and the enduring power of human and alien cooperation. As they looked out over the glowing cities of Zillara, Nira realized that she had found more than a partner in Kian. She had found someone who believed in her, supported her, and shared her values. Kian, in turn, had found a leader whose courage and intelligence challenged him to be better, to think differently, and to act with integrity. Together, they were ready to shape the future. The Empire, inspired by their example, began to change. Laws, customs, and expectations slowly adapted to recognize ability and character over tradition and biology. Young leaders emerged with new perspectives, encouraged to act with courage, wisdom, and integrity. Nira and Kian's journey became a story told across planets, a story of hope, partnership, and the power of action over prejudice. As the twin suns set over Zillara, casting long shadows across the crystal spires, Nira and Kian stood together, ready for whatever the future might bring. They had faced danger, political challenges, and prejudice. They had proven themselves across worlds, and now they were ready to lead, not just as princess and soldier, but as equals, partners, and symbols of a new era. The galaxy watched as a human soldier and an infertile alien princess redefined leadership, partnership, and courage. They had shown that respect, integrity, and intelligence could triumph over tradition and prejudice. They had proven that true worth is measured by deeds, choices, and heart, not by biology or expectation. And in this new era, the Zilari Empire, inspired by Nira and Kian, began to thrive in ways it never had before. Alliances strengthened, conflicts diminished, and respect for leadership based on courage, wisdom, and integrity spread across planets. The story of Princess Nira and Kian became a legend, a symbol of hope, inspiration, and the enduring power of human and alien cooperation. Together, they had changed not only their own destinies, but the destiny of countless worlds. The future was bright, and for the first time, Nira felt that it belonged to those who acted with courage, wisdom, and heart. Kian, standing beside her, shared that vision, ready to face every challenge alongside her. In the end, the princess, who was once rejected for her infertility, became the leader who inspired a galaxy. The human soldier who chose to stand with her became the partner who helped create a new era. Their story was one of courage, intelligence, partnership, and the triumph of action over prejudice. The stars above Zillara shone as witnesses to a